with a young kid. Now, in this clip, we finna react to and watch is Caitlin Clark giving a young kid some inspiration, a very profound moment. And I'm telling you right now, this is why this separates her from other notable basketball players and other notable people when it comes to Caitlin Clark impact. I'm telling you right now, this is big, man. Shout out to Krista over on Twitter for capturing this moment. I think Scott Agnes filmed it, so shout out to him.
Caitlin Clark went viral at the Final Four without even trying, and that alone says everything about where her influence stands right now. This was not a calculated moment. It was not a PR move. It was just Clark existing in a space and naturally pulling all the attention toward her. That kind of pull does not come from marketing.
Agnes filmed it, so shout out to him. Now, this is an interaction that Caitlin Clark had with a kid. Watch this right here.
Say hello to him. Give me some dap. Give him some dap.
Carson, nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you.
Hello. So you're a Kansas fan.
Rock Chalk. Say Rock Chalk.
What?
Rock Chalk. Rock Chalk.
Rock Chalk.
It comes from something real, and anyone who has been doubting whether the Clark wave had died down got their answer loud and clear. There was a moment captured at a press conference event where Clark sat down with a young kid named Rock. She greeted him warmly, asked if he liked basketball, told him to go shoot around, and even pointed out he needed some black socks for his outfit. The whole thing lasted maybe 30 seconds. But those 30 seconds hit different.
Rock Chalk.
Very nice to meet you.
Going to the games? Or just enjoying Fan Fest? Fan Fest? Yeah. It's pretty fun. I think you're going to shoot some hoops over there. You gotta go work on your shot.
Like, all right, let's go look for the game, And you need some black socks with that outfit.
So that was the moment there, man. People going crazy about it. But it's key moments like this, man, that separates Caitlin from others, dog. And I'm telling you right now,
moments like that are what separate players who are famous from players who actually mean something to people. Clark belongs to the second group, and scenes like this one keep proving it. Clark also spoke about how she was raised and what shaped her as a player and a person. She talked about her father being her first coach, and how her upbringing never put sports at the top of the priority list. School came first.
This, man, that separates Caitlin from others, dog. And I'm telling you right now, when it comes to her impact, it's going to be talked about for 100 years from now. 100 years from now, how impactful Caitlin Clark was and is at this notable time in the world. Not just our country, but the world.
I think growing up, I had a lot of really good coaches. Whether that was when I was really young, my dad was my first ever coach, and getting to see him not only as my dad, but as my basketball coach. And I feel like I was always raised in the right way. Like, it wasn't always sports first. It was putting everything before that, whether it was
family came first. Taking care of herself came first. Basketball was always there, but it was not treated like the only thing that mattered. She credited that foundation for helping her stay grounded as a professional athlete because the job is something she gets to do rather than something she lives and dies by. She also gave a lot of credit to teammates throughout her career, not just coaches, saying that strong team captains and good locker room chemistry taught her as much as any mentor figure ever did.
Putting everything before that, whether it was school, whether it was taking care of yourself, whether it was getting along with my siblings. Like, that's just how I was raised. It was never basketball, basketball, basketball. And as a kid, that's probably what you want it to be. It's just be sports all the time. That's certainly what I wanted, but it was everything else, and I think that's helped me a lot. As I'm a professional athlete, you realize, like, this isn't everything to you. Right? It's what you get to do, and it helps you make a living, but it's not your all. And I think, like, as I moved into college, my college coach, Coach Woodard, is going to be in the Hall of Fame one day. She's a tremendous coach, but
a new commercial also surfaced featuring Clark in a shoot-and-answer format called Swish and Tell. She named Croatia as her favorite travel destination, coffee as her go-to ice cream flavor, and mopping floors as the chore she hates most. She talked about bright neon socks being her biggest childhood fashion mistake, and said her greatest memory growing up was water balloon fights with her siblings and neighborhood kids, where she always ended up getting targeted. The spot ended with her draining a long-range shot with a purple ball, bringing the energy right back around. Meanwhile, the bigger story of the day came out of South Carolina.
I get asked this a lot, and I say this like mentors, but I also feel like I have a lot of really, really good teammates that I was able to at a teammate as somebody that's like a mentor, but for me, I feel like I did. Like I had great captains on teams that I was on, whether it was when I first got in the league or whether when I was the first round up at Iowa. So I feel like I've had a lot of tremendous teammates that helped me kind of flourish and kind of learn the game and learn each other and build different relationships. I'd say that.
And I appreciate that because a lot of people don't recognize.
Dawn Staley's squad locked up the national championship, and the celebration footage started pouring out immediately. Raven Johnson addressed reporters after the game and kept things classy, saying that when two winning programs go at each other, things naturally get heated, but that there is nothing but respect underneath all of it. She spoke about what the title meant for Coach Staley, calling it the perfect send-off for everything she pours into her players every single day. The moment that had people talking beyond the trophy was Gino Auriemma's behavior at the end of the game.
A lot of people don't recognize and appreciate your humility. But before you can lead, you have to learn to follow. And I watched you do that. And that's why you acknowledge your captains. You acknowledge.
Now, this was a conversation that Caitlin Clark had with Jalen Rose yesterday, but these are some of the photos that is starting to come out from this moment, man. And as you guys can see here, man, this is Caitlin Clark having an in-depth, intense moment with a young fan, and I just love to see this, man. I knew some footage was.
Staley did not make it a talking point when she addressed her team, leaving that entire conversation for Auriemma to handle himself. He chose to sidestep the questions entirely. Many watching saw his conduct at the final buzzer as a poor showing of sportsmanship, though opinions across the basketball community remain split. The Indiana Fever taking a hit by parting ways with Chloe Bibby is a topic worth breaking down in full, because the numbers and context tell a story that a lot of people are brushing past.
To see this, man. I knew some footage was starting to come out from this day here. Look at the young man there, bro. Could you imagine being a young kid sitting there with Jalen Rose, Caitlin Clark, and I can't remember. Darian Patterson is the other young kid name. Now, Caitlin Clark did have another commercial come out today. Let's see.
I'm Caitlin Clark, and this is Swish and Tell.
All right, the questions change based on whether you make it or miss it. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. You made it. So all-time greatest.
What Bibby brought to the floor was a very particular skill set. She was a stretch four who knocked down threes at better than 40%. That kind of production from the power forward spot is genuinely rare in the WNBA. Looking at the three-point percentage charts from the 2025 season, Sony Citron led the pack at 44%, and when searching for power forwards who can match that level of shooting, the list gets very short, very fast. The closest comparison at that position is probably Emily Engler, someone with a bit more size and a stronger defensive presence, and honestly a better overall player.
But Chloe Bibby, what is she? She's a stretch four. Chloe Bibby is absolutely a stretch four. She's a good one because why? She hits the three at a plus 40% rate. How many power forwards in WNBA shoot the three as well as Chloe Bibby? I'm going to be honest, that number is maybe zero. Maybe zero. It is rare to find a 3-point shooter that is.
The Fever actually drafted Engler 4th overall back in 2022 and then cut her after 1 year, which is a decision that looks even more puzzling in hindsight. But Bibby was doing something similar on the offensive end. She was spacing the floor at an elite rate for a big, and that kind of gravity matters enormously when Caitlin Clark is running the offense. On defense, Bibby is not some elite stopper. Nobody is making that argument.
That is as competent as Chloe Bibby, like as a power forward. So I'm just going to look at WNBA 3-point percentage leaders. I'm going to look up that this year. So if you're looking on the year, the 3-point, why is there no 3-point percentage leaders? There we go. It has to be. So yearly 2025. So
she sits somewhere around a 5 out of 10 on that end. There was a lot of noise made about a specific game where Paige Beckers was switched onto her repeatedly and seemed to have her number. But looking at the actual possessions, Beckers went 1 for 5 in those isolation matchups if the one questionable foul call is taken out of the equation. Beckers is the best isolation scorer in the league percentage-wise, and she was shooting 20% against Bibby.
So Sony Citron obviously led it in 2025. She led it at 44%. Like, I'm just thinking of players that are like comparative 3-point shooters to Chloe Bibby, and is like at the 4 you're looking at like Emily Engsler. You're looking at basically Emily Engsler. And on the, like, Emily Engsler is a bit more size, a bit more defense. Emily Engsler is a better player than Chloe Bibby. I'll give you that. The Indiana Fever are dumbasses for drafting her 4th and then cutting her. Like, they draft her 4th and cut her.
Steph White pulled Bibby because Dallas was deliberately hunting that matchup, but the actual defensive output was not the disaster it got painted as. Putting her in the defensive conversation alongside players like Kelsey Mitchell or Caitlin Clark feels about right. Not a liability, not an asset, just someone who holds her own without being a difference maker on that end. Losing a 5 out of 10 defender who gives 9 out of 10 spacing value is a real problem, and that math does not favor Indiana here.
Her 4th and cut her. Genuinely. They drafted her 4th in 2022 and then cut her after her rookie year. But Chloe Bibby is giving you that. On the defensive end, I think I'm not going to say she's a plus defender. I think she's a negative defender. But, like, I don't think she's as much negative as people think. I think she's like everyone talks about that game where Paige ISO'd her and where all trust was lost from Steph White in her. I think everyone talks about that game.
A useful comparison is Katie Lou Samuelson's last stretch with the Fever. She shot 35% from the field and 33% from 3, all on wide-open looks, never having to create a shot for herself. Bibby, across 9 games last season, hit 40% from 3 under similar circumstances. That is a 7% jump, and both players are operating at a similar defensive level. Christy Sides, who was also available in the same pool, is a slightly different profile.
I think everyone talks about that game, but if you want to look, there were 5 possessions. Paige Becker's ISO'd at Chloe Bibby. Paige made 1 shot, missed 3, and got a phantom foul on 1. Like, she pulled up, missed a shot, and then flailed and got the free throws. So, if you assume the referees are doing their job, she goes 1 of 5. This is a player who shoots above 50% in ISOs. Paige Beckers is the best isolation scorer in the WNBA percentage-wise. You have the best.
She has put together multiple 40% three-point seasons and brings a bit more defensive energy, probably a 4 or 5 out of 10 on that end. A touch ahead of Clark, but nothing dramatic. She is a bang average player overall. Given the choice between Christy Sides and Rachel Banham, Sides probably wins that debate. She is a solid rotation piece, not a starter, but dependable enough off the bench.
Percentage-wise, you have the best isolation scorer, ISO Chloe Bibby, shooting 20% if it wasn't for the BS call. And Steph White didn't trust it. Why? Because the Dallas Wings decided they wanted to attack Chloe Bibby. And this is the one thing I hate with coaches, where it's like, a lot of coaches are like, they're so being like, oh, look, there's a mismatch here, we have to take this player out. And I'm like, man, she didn't do a bad job. Like, anyone who wants to talk about Chloe Bibby's defense, I mean this when I say this, you are not going to find footage.
Finding a direct replacement for Bibby from the outside is harder than it might look. A player like Becky Allen fills a similar role, but comes with a price tag around.
You are not going to find footage of Chloe Bibby in the WNBA as this negative defender. I'm not saying she's a positive defender. I'm saying she's a passable defender. And I think the Indiana Fever lose quite a lot without Chloe Bibby, especially on the offensive end. Defensively, yes, like a Bree Turner is better than her. But like Natasha Howard is better than her on defense. But like I put her in the, I'm trying to think what category I put her in on defense. She's not as good as Sophie. She's not as good as Lexi. Like I understand she's kind of big, but like I put her in a similar.
But the ideal move would have been building around relentless, hard-working role players rather than this situation. One name that came up as a missed opportunity was Sia Rivers, who was available in the draft the previous year. Indiana moved that first-round pick, and while a lot of people assumed that pick was the price for bringing in Sophie Cunningham, the actual sequence was different. Alyssa Thomas was traded for Cunningham.
Big. But like I put her in a similar category to like Kelsey Mitchell, Caitlin Clark on defense. I don't think she's all defense. God, no. I don't think she's good. I don't think she's bad. I think she's like a 5 out of 10 defender. And if you lose a 5 out of 10 defender with 9 out of 10 spacing ability, it's a problem. And it's one of those things that was annoying that we didn't see a lot of. We didn't see a lot of Chloe Bibby with Caitlin Clark, because I think she would have been left wide open, and like she would have been the best perfect shooter for Caitlin. So if you guys looked at,
the draft pick was moved separately to open up salary cap room, specifically to make the Natasha Howard signing work financially. Two very different transactions that tend to get collapsed into one in most retellings. Bottom line, Bibby was a tough piece to part with. Steph White may not be losing sleep over the roster decision, but from a pure value standpoint, replacing what she provided at that price point is going to be a challenge Indiana will feel across the season.